imagine a machal student, the oldest of 5, ages 18 down to 3, whose mother was in her 3rd trimester when she flew off to Eretz Yisrael. Baruch Hashem, just as anticipated, while she's abroad learning Torah thousands of miles away, Baruch Hashem, she has a baby sister born to her family. Mazel tov. Of course, they send her pictures. Let's just call her Chavi. Of course, they send Chavi pictures. They send Chavi videos. When her baby sister starts to coo, they even Skype, right? Cute. But still, when she's with people for Shabbos and they say, "Oh, what family are you from?" What does she find herself starting to say? "I'm the oldest of 5." And then, "Oh, wait, hold on," right? And then those pictures of that cute, helpless sweetie rush into her mind, and she remembers that really she's now the oldest of 6. But that's how we are. When we know something, especially when it's new, and it's not right in front of us, so then we don't always integrate that knowledge into our consciousness. We sort of need to catch ourselves, and we need to click ourselves back into what we know to be true. We're going to get back to Chavi a little later. Machal Tavshinayin Zayin. You have had a tremendous zechus and a tremendous bracha to have been listening to shiurim about Tefilah for the last several weeks. When Mrs. Shukran asked me to give the culminating shiur, I was both complimented, thank you, and very challenged. What could be left to be said? You probably have heard it all. And I would want to talk about something that is fundamental and applicable. I'd want to talk about something that's core Tefilah with tools that will make it accessible. Later today, I want your mincha to be affected by what we're talking about here. I want your mincha to have a greater impact, of a greater quality than it was. So I took this shiur on, giving it that gravity. And Bezras Hashem, and with your help, our learning together will now meet those high-level goals. Tefilah. It's a very real part of our day. 2 or 3 times a day, we're talking the Ribono Shel Olam. But instead of it being a cherished opportunity, I think it is far too prevalently viewed by frum Jews of all genders, both genders, all ages, all stages, as a burden. It's a task. We don't cherish the opportunity. We don't know what potential there is to tap. Making the problem worse, I think we have a bunch of questions on Tefilah that we don't necessarily have answers to. Doesn't Hashem know what I need? Doesn't He know better than I do what I need? Why must I specify my bakashos altogether? How is it bichlal mechubad for me to be nudging the Melech Malchei HaMalachim with my personal needs, day in and day out, 2 to 3 times a day? I'm listing for the Melech what I need. That's kavodik to the Melech. Why am I starting with Shevach? Now, it better not be to be buttering him up. Anybody learned that approach in Gan or Yeshiva Day School? The, "Mom, you're the best mom, can I have the car keys?" Anybody did learn that? I think that over the years the number has gone down, but when I was teaching a Tefilah class over the earlier years, a lot of girls had learned that. I would venture to say that that approach to Shevach is kfira. We can play on Hashem's emotions the way we can perhaps play on our mother's emotions by buttering him up. "Oh, you're the best, give us." So why do we start with Shevach? And how can we make it that Tefilah is not boring? What can we do that it's not the same boring involvement day in and day out? Okay, let's get started. 3 components of every Shemona Esrei: Shevach, Bakasha, Hoda'ah. Which of them is most ikar? Bakasha. It is clear from many Ma'amrei Chazal that the ikar of our Tefilah is the Bakashos. Accordingly, we look at Shemona Esrei as our Bakashos are preceded by Shevach, for a reason we have to get to. Our Bakashos are followed by Hoda'ah, but the ikar of our Tefilah is Bakasha. And let me just preface, the approach I'm about to be taking is really drawing from some of the most major Rishonim and Achronim. It's the Maharal in the Siv HaAvoda, I could tell you where, and elsewhere. It's the Chavos Halavavos, Shar Cheshbon HaNefesh. It's the Mabit in Beis Elokim. I could tell you where. It's developed beautifully in an article in my favorite Sefer. Did I tell you what my favorite Sefer is? Have I mentioned it? Machaldet, you know? Sifsei Chaim. You know Sifsei Chaim? If your Hebrew is good enough, I highly recommend it. Rav Chaim Friedlander, who has many Sfarim. This one is in Midos Va'avodas Hashem, Chelek Bet. I can tell you where. It's not an approach that I think you probably have never heard, but it may be new to some. It's super fundamental. And even if you've heard it, I'm going to develop it, I think, differently than maybe you've heard before. Here goes. The point of our tefillah and of specifying our bakashos, the ikar of our tefillah, is to drum it into our heads that we need HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're knocking it in every single Shmona Esrei. We are totally dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu for absolutely everything. That's the point of tefillah. I'll tell you how the Chavos Halavavos says it. You know who he was when he lived? Rabbeinu Bachye, the other one. Which one? Rabbeinu Bachye ibn Pakuda, early Rishonim in Muslim Spain, golden age of Spain. He says there was Echad min HaTzadikim, this is Shar Cheshbon HaNefesh, who consistently would say a tefillah after his tefillah. Echad min HaTzadikim had a consistent tefillah he would say after his Shmona Esrei. And the Chavos Halavavos quotes that tefillah and learns a lot about tefillah from it. I'm just going to quote you this one part. This tzaddik used to say to Hashem after his Shmona Esrei, V'lo hoda'aticha bitzrachai, I did not, I know he also interesting, but V'lo hoda'aticha bitzrachai, I did not let you, Hashem, know of my needs, laha'ir otcha alehem, to make you aware, to stir you up to what they are. That would be ridiculous. We have to let Hashem know our needs. Here's the punchline. Ela she'argish begodel chesroni elecha. I have listed my needs for you, Hashem, in tefillah, so that I should feel how chaser I am, elecha, and what I need you for, how much I lean on you to fill in the needs. Uvitroni bach. My listing of my needs reminds me of the concept of bitachon. What are the concepts of bitachon? What is bitachon? Hashem supplies it all. I'm in the recipient position. Hashem supplies everything. So I list my needs so that I should feel how chaser I am, and I should be reminded that I know that it's all coming from you. This approach actually explains the relevance and the reason for each of the three sections of tefillah. Go through it with me. Why do we start with Shevach? Because what are we establishing in Shevach? You, Hashem, are Hakel, Hagadol, Hagibor, Vahanora, Kel Elyon. You are the exclusive address. You are it. You're the one who can supply. You give it all. You supply it all. You're it. You're the Mechalkel Chaim, Bechesed. You give sustenance to life, to everybody alive, Bechesed. You're the Somech Noflim. You're the Rofei Cholim. You are the exclusive address. Then we list the bakashos, and we're drumming it in. The subliminal message under every bakasha is, we need you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We need you for our ruchnius needs. That's some of the bakashos. For our gashmi needs. We need you for our personal needs and for our national needs. I've basically covered the 13 bakashos. We need you for it all. And then Hoda'ah. What are we doing in Hoda'ah that pieces into this? No delecha al chayenu hamesurim biyadecha. That which we have, we know it's from you, and we thank you for it. We give you credit. Al niflosecha v'tovosecha shebechol eis, at all times, erev avoker v'tzaharayim. Everything I have, I know to credit you. You gave it to me, and I thank you. Now, according to this fundamental approach, tefillah is one big avodah atzmit. We're working on ourselves. It's funny, we're turning to Hashem, we're speaking to Him to send a profound message to ourselves. That's what comes out to be true about tefillah. It's of course very apt that in Lashon HaKodesh, the word for tefillah, to daven to Hashem, is in what binyan? The hitpa'el, the reflexive. It's avodah atzmit. We're working on our own mindsets. The ikar of tefillah, we said, is the bakashos. So it's funny, it comes out that the ikar of tefillah is bakashat tzrachenu, asking for our needs, but the tachlis of tefillah is not that those needs should be met, is not to be granted the filling in of those needs. What's the tachlis? Wake up, get the right mindset, get it into our consciousness, what we know to be true. Now, do we know these things to be true? These concepts that we're drumming in, do we know them? Imagine, picture this, you're somewhere, and someone is doing a theological survey. So he wants to find, a Buddhist and a Hindu and a Christian and a Muslim and an Orthodox Jew to ask his theological questions. So he approaches you. Are you an Orthodox Jew? I need to ask an Orthodox Jew a question. I need to understand the Orthodox Jewish approach too. What do you view as the source of everything you have? I think everyone in this room, when asked the question, would certainly answer, I know that the source of everything I have is Hashem. We believe that the source of everything is God. We don't think we supply ourselves with things. That would be the answer if we were asked the question. We know the information. We feel it in our kishkas. Not so much. It's at the forefront of our minds, or it's back here for theological surveys. Except that these ideas do come to the forefront of our minds when? Have you guys been aware of the news in recent days in Eretz Yisrael, for example? We had one of the worst weeks in Eretz Yisrael that I recall ever. On Thursday, they evacuated 80,000 people from their homes because of the fires that were raging, and many of them don't have homes to go back to. I think everyone was wondering, is our town going to be next? Should I be packing a bag with which to evacuate? It was very scary days. I'm not sure how much you were aware of it. I was up cooking late on Thursday night, so I actually was living through the evacuation of Beit Meir. You know OJ? Seems like an Arab set fire to a tree nearby. Within minutes, the whole place was enveloped by fire. The OJ boys had to run out. The families were getting into their cars to take everybody out. There's one road that leads out of Beit Meir, and it was jammed. So these families saw the fire all around them. They saw their homes. They were going to be leaving the homes, leaving them. Who knows? And many of them did lose their homes. In moments like those, we are keenly aware this is not up to us. We need you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The brave firefighters were doing the best they could around the country. Other countries were sending in airplanes. You know who sent in airplanes? Turkey. We've just been at Cold War with them recently. Russia, Turkey, Greece, Italy, they sent in the planes. They were humanly doing the most that humans could. But it was so clear that this is beyond human capabilities. And in those moments, we feel it in our kishkas, that we are utterly helpless without HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Non-from Jews in those situations, I think, start to turn to Hashem. You know the famous phrase in English. What's the Goyish phrase? There's no atheist in a foxhole. Anyone in a tzara suddenly believes in God. There's no one left who doesn't believe in God in those situations. You're turning to something you didn't even know you believed in because you're hoping that He can save you. Machal Aleph, how many of you lived through Superstorm Sandy, were affected by Sandy? Those were petrifying times, very destabilizing. Machal Betters, last year at this time, every bus stop, every Rakevet Kala stop. Who knows if it would be the next place that an Arab was going to whip out his knife and attack an innocent Jew with no warning? In those situations, we are so keenly aware of the truth. We know that we are so completely dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu and utterly helpless without Him. Anyone ever, Rahman al-Itzlan, battled a life-threatening illness? Ever had a family member, a close friend who did? What's the quality of your tefillah in those situations? It's very heartfelt. I'll tell you from my personal experience. Let's go back a long time to when I was single. I wasn't so old, but I didn't get married at 19. And I remember my friends were getting married, and it was getting uncomfortable, worrisome, and you're a little bit unable to do much for yourself. Just want to walk into a base medrash. I'm really a nice person. I'll be a really nice wife and mother. You're kind of stuck. And you know you're just waiting for Kadosh Baruch Hu to send him. Mistama, he's out there. Or maybe I'll be one of those who never gets married. Hashem, can you please let me know what it'll be? Can you please send him? I want to have a family. In those situations, we're feeling the truth of the matter. We feel what is correct all the time. Our mindset is right on target. We're not living deluded at all. Now, think about it. Do we enjoy how we feel in those circumstances? When we feel incapable, helpless, not self-sufficient, and dependent, we dislike those feelings intensely. Shouldn't we enjoy feeling the truth of the matter? Not at all. Why is that? Because that's how Hashem made humans. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into the makeup of mankind a very strong koach hanefesh in the kochos hanefesh, discussed by major Baalei Machshava and Baalei Musar, Rav Dessler and Rav Hutner. One of the strongest kochos hanefesh that, by dint of being a human, you have and I have and we all have, is that it is very important to us to feel self-sufficient, independent. We like to take credit for what we have and what we feel we've accomplished. That's part of our makeup. And there are several effects of this koach hanefesh. One is in the midst of a desperate situation, and one is right after. Now, by the way, I don't even like the phrase desperate situation, because if you do etymology of the English language, desperate, milashon, despair. A frum Jew, in what you call a desperate situation, doesn't despair. He turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He knows that Hashem is omnipotent, kol yachol, can solve the unsolvable, and can send the Yeshua. So I'm just using the phrase, not perfectly comfortably, because it'll conjure up the right image if I say desperate situation, even though we're never supposed to despair. This koach hanefesh has an effect in the midst of the desperate situation and after it. In the midst of it, it makes us feel very agitated, very insecure, very jarred, and very unsettled when we feel so vulnerable and we know that we are so dependent. We want that situation to end quickly. And after it ends, it is amazingly quick that we have that thought that had been right there and in our kishkas of how very dependent we are on Hashem. It is amazing how quickly it lodges back to be only back there. And we stop having it at the forefront of our minds that we are really dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what weapon did HaKadosh Baruch Hu tuck in to the day of every frum Jew in order to fight this strong koach hanefesh? This koach hanefesh which deludes him of the truth, Hashem said, here's your weapon. Tefilah. Multiple times a day, tefilah. The name of the shir, tefilah, tapping into the powerful potential. Not the potential to have your prayers answered, to have what's chaser be filled in. The potential to have 2 or 3 times a day an effective reboot of the mindset. Find that button and press it to reset the brain to the truth. Our brains naturally fall into thinking in terms of our independence. But Hashem put in shacharis, and then mincha, and if you choose to, mariv. And we can catch ourselves like Chavi. Chavi knows she has a cute baby sister, but when she's not thinking about it, she's talking about being the oldest of 5, but then she catches herself. Oh, right, I knew that. That's tefilah. It's right. I knew that. I know that I'm totally dependent. I know that I need HaKadosh Baruch Hu completely, and I am not self-sufficient at all. When we start Shemona Esrei, we take 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, we bow to our Creator, and we reboot. Amazingly, even if we effectively rebooted at Shacharis, we need to do it again at Mincha. Tefillah should never be boring, because that koach comes right back after we knocked it in at Shacharis, and it takes over for the intervening hours. we're fine, we're capable, we're right, and by Mincha we need to reboot again. I'm going to give you 2 practical tips. One is that as you take those 3 steps forward to start Shmona Esrei, and you're right up at the Shechina Kiviyachol, try to conjure up some image that you're hooked up to a Kadosh Baruch Hu as your life support system. Some cord, some whatever image you want, some contraption. I've walked up to a Kadosh Baruch Hu in Shmona Esrei, and I'm envisioning that He is my life support. That clicks you in the first moment of Shmona Esrei before you even say a word. My second tip is, you probably know that verbalizing your own bakashos in English is not just sanctioned, but I think it's even encouraged by the poskim. You just have to know where. I think most poskim would say don't insert it into Shema Kolenu. I think most poskim say, but check with your local Orthodox rabbi, that you should wait for towards the end of Elokai Netzor, right before the second Yehiyu L'Ratzon. That would be the right place where it says psukim for Shemos Anashim. I highly recommend doing this regularly. Before you start Shmona Esrei, think, what's on my mind? What do I need? What do I want Hashem to either preserve that I have and I'm afraid I'm going to lose it? Or what do I need from Hashem that I don't have and I need Him to fill it in? Make a personal bakasha in every Shmona Esrei. It'll bring the point home that we really need Hashem to supply and we are only recipients. One last point. Over my 20 plus years of teaching on Machal, I've received many phone calls from Machal alumni. Sometimes it's an eitzah about what to do about that boy. They saw this aspect, but they saw that aspect. That's very often. Sometimes it's because they're going through a very hard thing. Usually it's something in shidduchim. They're not getting ideas. Their friends are all getting married. They don't agree with their parents even on what ideas they should go out with. How are they ever going to get married and their parents are going to accept the type of boy? It could be illness. It could be inability to conceive. What I try to suggest, if I have the relationship with the girl that I can, and I think that she's a developed enough person, it's a little bold, I'm going to share it with you, is that as they are in those situations where they are feeling so vulnerable, so dependent, cherish it. Catch that moment of living the truth of the world, which we usually just ignore, and we feel so capable. If you're in a situation where it is so clear to you that you're dependent, cherish it, relish it, as you're uncomfortable, as you're in pain, as you want it to be over, and daven for it to end. But capture that moment. It's a golden moment. You're feeling the truth of the world in your kishkas. Hold on to it. I myself, over the last several years, have had a few, what you could call that phrase, desperate situations. Sometimes they've lasted a few petrifying minutes. Sometimes they've lasted a few agonizing weeks. And I work very hard to try to cherish when I can feel how much I need HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because even though I can give this passionate shir to you, I'm also human. And when I'm not actively focused on it, it's not in my mind. But if I can relish those moments where the truth is so apparent and so in me, and I've seized upon a golden opportunity to know the truth and maybe remember it even after the situation passes. Imagine that we would use Shemona Esrei to reboot. It wouldn't be so hard to achieve that when we're having a tzara, we can actually appreciate the position that it puts us in and the uncomfortable truth of the world that we're reminded of. And perhaps if we would do it regularly for ourselves through tefillah, no promises on this whatsoever, maybe Hashem wouldn't have to send us the situations of tzara that make us stare at the truth crystal clear, because we've taken the opportunity of Shemona Esrei, day in and day out, to click our heads into it ourselves. That's the powerful potential of tefillah, starting with mincha today. Start to tap into it. Mir Hashem, it'll change your lives.